All right, let's get into it.
Well, it's actually Friday.
It is, for once. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Warfighter Tobacco Podcast. Sorry, I had to find the camera. I'm John. That's Scott. We have Justin over here, producer extraordinaire. Yeah, it's Friday.
It is Friday. Just got back from TPE as an attendee.
Yeah.
So if I saw you out there, it was good to see you.
Hi. Yeah. Sorry I wasn't there. Yeah. So TPE is, for those of you who don't know what that is, TPE is it's Total Products Expo.
Yep.
And it's kind of like a cigar trade show, but not just cigars.
I would say it's
a vape and CBD trade show, and cigars have a little corner.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a head shop trade show.
Right.
Yeah.
The years prior, the cigar side of it actually had a decent representation.
Yeah.
And then PCA changed the dates, and they moved closer to, PCA used to be in July, and they moved to whatever it was, April, I think.
Yeah.
TPE's been in January. Then they just got too close. And what did you say? Next year they're like a week apart?
12 days.
12 days apart?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's going to be so
Yeah. So, that hurts as a manufacturer trying to set up for 2 week-long trade shows 12 days apart from each other.
In two different locations.
It's dumb.
That's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cost.
But imagine trying to ship from Vegas to New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. Especially some of the...
And then not being able,
companies.
like, you can't ship it back to you and then ship it back out. So you can add in the things that you used, your consumables. So now you have to ship out new consumable,
it's a lot.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. But yeah, so you were out there, you were back in Vegas again.
Yeah.
After being there last week for SHOT Show.
Yep. Luckily it was, 2 nights and, I could have done an overnight and probably been fine.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was good. I got to see some friends and look at some new stuff. So
nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
Anything fun and interesting that you saw that's not like stuff that like we, fun. Oh, what's fun and cool stuff that we can do. It's just like in general at the show, like out of the CBD side of the vape side, was there anything that stuck out?
Shit. None of that stuff I care about.
Yeah.
So not really.
On the cigar side,
there was something interesting. There was it was a flavor additive, but it was booze that you added to water.
What?
So it was like 40% alcohol flavoring that you could add to like a 20-ounce bottle of water.
So instead of me putting electrolytes in my water, I can put alcohol?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting.
So technically you're hydrating.
Well, I don't know about that, I guess. But yeah, there's water involved, so I suppose.
So I put ice in my whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't get hungover.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Did you get any samples?
I did not try that because I was actively drinking a beer at the time when I saw it. So. Yeah, what else? Calibri had a cool new cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a V straight cut combo.
Okay.
It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know like Lotus had a couple new products out. I just saw like hey, look, check out what we have new. And
yeah.
I think there were lighters or cutters or something. But yeah, I feel like coming out with new cutters is like reinventing the wheel. You only get so, you can only change it so much. It's a simple movement.
Right. Like I like a straight cut now.
Yeah.
And the Calibri Deep V is my number 2 cut.
Yep.
And so this was kind of all in one,
right,
which made it kind of cool.
They used to have one. I think it was their SV is what they called it. And it was a flat on one side, but it wasn't the deep V. It was wasn't it like a shallow V or something?
I think so.
I can't remember.
This one was, it opened up and then it had both cuts next to each other.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it had a little trap door you could get the schmuckus out of. Yeah.
The schmuckus.
But yeah, those are kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not really a good way for us to brand it.
No.
But I kind of want to buy one just to try it.
Is it like a pocket lighter? Or excuse me, pocket cutter? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's flat. I see there. Yeah,
Yep.
I got it.
Go to that 4th picture, Justin. So that's how it opens up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty thin.
Yeah.
Probably that big.
Okay.
So
Yeah, about the size of a regular cutter, just
yeah,
a little different. Yeah. No, that's cool.
yeah.
I remember when they first came out with that kind of, I don't even know what you got to call it, triangle or diamond design that they had on all their stuff. And it kind of grew on me.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, because they do ashtrays and all kinds of stuff, table lighters,
Right.
big products. And I was like, I don't really know. But now when I see one like in a lounge, and I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty sick.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah. Yeah.
They just have clean lines.
Yep.
Nice. Well, you were in TPE. I was doing a quail hunt.
Okay.
That it was that's actually getting turned into an annual quail hunt now. And it was awesome. We were on a massive ranch.
Yeah.
11,500 acres.
That's big.
Huge.
Did you shoot anything?
I got so it's controversial. Okay. Controversial. So we had some guys out there that had bird dogs. And so we were hunting with bird dogs, and they had a rig set up on their trucks. On the back of the truck was like, they had 3 dog kennels on each side, and then in between the kennels and the cab was like a padded seat, like a bench that we put 3 of us on. We weren't shooting from the truck, but we could see everything elevated. So as we were driving around, if like a covey of quail was in a field, like, playing around, we could see them over the grass instead of having to walk through that whole field. Cause
right.
I think I put in like 21,000 steps that day.
Yeah.
And we drove around in the truck most of the day. If we had to walk everything, I probably would have did 20, 30 miles easy. And I didn't even cover what we covered in the truck.
Yeah.
But it was super overcast and foggy, half raining and cloudy. Like nothing was really moving.
Right.
And they have some monster deer down there, and it's not a high fence ranch.
Right.
They just manage really well. Biggest deer I've seen in Texas deer.
Yeah.
They're huge. Beautiful setup. And, so we ended up, the limit for quail is 15 a day per person. We ended up getting 12 from 3 of us. But the controversial part was, so every covey we came upon, we got at least 1 quail, and it was late in the season. So they're very, they don't just hang out and wait for us. They hear us and they're gone. So the last covey that we had, we got 4 birds out of it. And I know for 100% fact that I shot 2 of them, single round, bam, bird dropped, bam, bird dropped. We ended up getting 4. And the dog handlers who weren't shooting, they were just watching and observing, figuring out where the birds are, watching them land so they can get the dogs in the right areas. So we're not just, needle in a haystack trying to find them. So we got done. And they were the other 2 guys that were there. They were asking or talking about how many they got, or I got this one, I missed that, blah blah blah, whatever. And I don't care.
Yeah.
Like we're all splitting the birds up anyways at the end. It doesn't matter to me. And so they're all talking about everything, and I'm just laughing, reloading, keeping an eye, seeing what everything else is doing. And then then the dog handler he chimed up, and he's like, well, actually, he's like, John got those 2 that are over there, and then the first 2 that got dropped was John's first shot. And he's like, so you technically got 4 out of this covey. And I looked at the other guys and I'm like, I only saw those 2 go down. So I didn't want to be, but yeah. So out of the 12, if we count those, I think I got 8 out of the 12. But no, it was really fun.
So you're describing this truck though. The first thing that came to mind was he needs to have like clay target thrower just in your spare time. Just
right off the front.
Just to keep you good.
So it was actually really cool. So he had all the kennels in the back. And so anytime we dropped a dog, he'd like walk out and grab it and whatever. But let's say like shit's happening quick.
Yeah.
Right. He had a kennel hooked to the hitch on the front, and it was on a remote. Oh. And so he could just open that door and that dog was gone. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. It was, almost identical to that.
Nice.
Yep. Almost identical. But it was on a F250. So it was way bigger, not on a little Tacoma. But no, it was cool. Like that was my first time doing it that way. Typically quail hunt is just like, We get to wherever we're going and we just start walking. And that's it all day long until you're done.
Right.
And, so it was really cool to do that. And the dogs were really good. But yeah, trying to think of what else has been going on since the last time we did that. There's we talked about a lot of stuff on the last episode on the FDA shit and all the stuff that's happening with that. And we pretty much already beat that horse to death.
Yeah.
But that's super awesome that all the regulations are getting either removed or lifted, and all the stuff that we thought was pending is all starting to go away because common sense, kind of.
Yeah. Well, as an adult, I like to be treated like one.
Right.
Give me my freedoms.
Yeah. Let me make the decision of what is horrible or not.
There may be a chance, there may be a time in my life where I know something's not good for me. And I'm going to elect to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to make that choice for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, people choose to buy alcohol every day.
Yeah.
It's a poison.
Right.
Like you put poison into your body and then you say you enjoy how it feels. And the next day you wonder why it feels like shit. Right. It's because it's poison.
Right. But you know what I know is not good for me is being told what the fuck to do all the time or what I can't do. It's more what I can't do. Right. That's what I don't like.
But it's kind of like that reverse psychology type deal, right? You tell a kid, hey, don't do this. Yeah. Don't touch a red button. Don't put your hand on the hot stove. And then they do it and they learn and they're like, oh man, I probably shouldn't put my hand on the hot stove. Yeah. The red button thing doesn't work because you put me in a room with a red button, tell me to sit in there for 2 hours and not push it. I'm pushing that bitch. Look what's this do.
I'm to the point in my life where you say, go to this room, sit there for 2 hours and don't push that red button.
You're going to sleep.
No, I'm literally walking straight up to the button. That's it. And like within the first 3 seconds, I'm pushing that button.
Okay, what's next?
Scott's going to see how many times he can push the red button before it breaks.
Yeah.
And be like, you need a better red button.
You're like, oh, what was that? Every time you push it, you kill a kitten.
There was, I don't remember if it was a video or if it was on a show. But it was every time you push this red button, a coworker dies. And the guy's just like,
yeah. What else? A big airplane crash. That sucks.
Yeah. I just heard today too that they completely shut down the airspace for military helicopters flying around that area because I guess they had another incident. I don't know what the incident was. I was just briefly listening to the news real quick this morning, and they said they shut down the whole airspace for all helo traffic that's around that area in that corridor.
Yeah,
because I guess there was another they were playing the radio transmissions, and I was like the tail end of it, so I didn't get the whole thing.
Right.
But it sounded like something else. Like there was something that was closer than anything should be in that world. And so then they made the decision that we're done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fucking 65 people or something.
Yeah,
that's a
lot.
That one.
Yeah,
it's not good, right?
No.
And I guarantee, you don't join the army to become a helicopter pilot to accidentally kill 67 people. That sucks balls.
Yeah.
Whether it was his fault or not, I'm not saying one way or the other, but
there was a lot
between air traffic control.
Well, just in movements of the aircraft.
Yeah.
And clearly we're not NTSB.
Yeah.
We don't have the reports and we're not, looking at data. We're just going off speculation of what people have said. But that plane, there's a lot of redirects on that plane did, which were all common in that area. It's a nightmare of a place to fly. But they did redirects.
You remember you remember flying into that airport?
Yeah. It's dicey.
The first time I flew into that,
I thought we were crashing in the river.
So did I. I'm banked at I don't know. And all I'm looking is into a river.
It's like a 90-degree turn they got to make. And then they level out right into the runway.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, holy fuck, we're going to crash. I'm looking at the river.
And you're only a couple hundred feet.
Yeah.
It's not like you're at thousands.
Yeah.
You're like, is that a fish?
So because of the restricted airspace or whatever, I guess. And
there's just so much traffic.
Yeah.
Then there's military bases that are close that, have aerial operations going on. Plus you're next to DC, which essentially the president flies whenever the president wants to fly. And then that takes priority over the airspace. And so there's so many regulations that are,
then you can't fly over, your approaches. You can't fly over this, you can't fly over that.
And one of the two main approaches they use for that runway are up and down the rivers.
Yeah.
And so you're pretty much following a squiggly line trying to get in,
but I mean, thank goodness there is a river there, otherwise it would have been, could have been way worse. Like,
right. But yeah, that's nuts. And then there's so much stuff. Like there's a helo elevation restriction that's in that area, 200 feet. Helos can't fly above 200 feet. And that incident happened, I think, from what I've heard, it was somewhere between 300 and 400.
Yeah.
But who is in the wrong? Who is asked to, because they're flying the aircraft, but air traffic control tells them where, when, and how high.
Yeah.
Hey, I need you on this heading at this elevation. Yeah. Roger. And then they move to that. Yeah. And that's it, because they have the big picture of what's going on. That aircraft just has what they can see and what's on their radar.
Yeah.
They don't get to make the decision of like, no, I'm going to go here instead. You know what I mean? Air traffic control is like, no, you're going here. You need to hold in this pattern. You need to do this. You have clearance for that.
I imagine though, like if the aircraft have radar, that it would have been alarming, right? Like,
but it's such a tight airspace, but they
maybe
do have
overly sensitive.
There are systems put in place, anti-collision systems that, essentially calculate the trajectory of the aircraft. And like air traffic controller knows if these two planes are going to, come close. The downfall is they were so low and everything's so close that, I don't know. Yeah. I wish, like, I know a couple of air traffic controller dudes, obviously I don't want to call them now, but like, hey, what's your opinion on it? You know what I mean? Because they're just like, really?
4,000 other people called it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's got to be an insanely stressful job.
Oh God, I would imagine.
But what a way, like I enjoy using my brain on things. Like I think it's fun, like problem solving, trying to figure out the problem. That is like a 24/7 nonstop problem and playing 3D chess in the air.
Yeah.
It's
like an all day video game with fucking dire consequences.
Yeah, huge consequences.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's just with the technology that we have today, how does this shit happen?
My car keeps me from hitting other cars.
I know.
Like, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And imagine if people had flying cars. Jesus.
I want one just because.
I think it'd be cool as shit. Speaking of cars, I got pulled over today on the way into work.
In your rocket ship?
In my rocket ship, my F-350. I drive it like a rocket ship. No, I got pulled over today, and I've been pulled over probably more than the average person in my life.
Because?
No, it's 100% my fault. It has nothing to do with law enforcement or anything like that. They're just doing their job. I appreciate what they do. This is all on me. So, I mean, back in my younger years, I got pulled over a lot, and I actually got tickets back then.
Right.
And I was one ticket away from losing my license. Not driving school, not, hey, do this or do, no. You get one more, you're done, man. And then I moved to Europe. And when I got back from Europe, they all fell off. I had a perfectly clean driving record again. My insurance was super cheap. Everything went way down. Since then, knock on wood, I haven't gotten a ticket. I've probably got maybe 100 warnings. Maybe not that much, but probably a solid like 30 or 40.
Yeah.
All across the United States. And in Texas, I've probably got 6 or 8. And it's not like I'm doing like 100 and a 50, like this morning I got pulled over 42 and a 30. And it was like in an industrial area, super wide streets. Yeah. Nobody else was on the road, and all I was doing was just cutting a highway intersection. I was going the shortcut way through the businesses to get around the traffic that was up there.
Right.
And I come around this turn, and the cop's sitting right on the side of the road, and I just wasn't even paying attention. And as soon as I got like right on him, and I was like, oh shit, that's a cop. And then I look at my rearview mirror, and he starts moving, flips his lights. I'm like, God damn it. So I just pull over, and he literally like maybe 75 feet, whoop, right behind me. Walks up, why I pulled you over? And I didn't say anything because I never do.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're going a little fast back there. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Like, I just wasn't really paying attention. Just on my way into work. And so we bullshitted for a little bit. And he asked for all my stuff, gave him everything. And then he asked, and he's like, Army infantry? And I was like, yeah. How do you know? I have a blue cord hanging on my rearview mirror, right, which is the cord that you wear for signify that in the military. It just happens to work out that this officer was infantry when he was in the military back in the late 80s. And so the reason I was bringing that story up is there's been a lot of times that I got pulled over. I got pulled over on my way to Florida with my sister in the car. And it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was speeding. Yeah. I was doing 90 something in a 55 on the bridges in Louisiana. So there's no way to, there's nothing you can do. You're just, oh shit, I'm screwed. And so that guy, we got pulled over. My sister woke up because it was in the middle of the night, and she's like, oh man. And she's like, how fast are you going? I told her. She's like, oh shit. And she's like, okay. And the guy came back up, thanked me for my service. We were bullshitted about the infantry a little bit because he was a prior grunt too. And he just like, just slow it down. He didn't give me a written warning. It was just verbal. And my sister's just like, what the fuck? And I was like, you should have joined the infantry. You get out of tickets.
Now imagine if you had that blue cord and boobs. Holy cow.
Yeah. But, and the reason that
you'd be sent an invitation to speed.
So now imagine if I was a Cab Scout and I had spurs hanging from the mirror.
You would have.
I think I would have got arrested.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have got a warning.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the male equivalent to like pulling your shirt down a little bit, start crying.
But like this morning, like I didn't even. It didn't even cross my mind when he was just like, Army infantry? I was like, how do you know? It's like, idiot.
You're a very good detective.
Yeah, right? Promote ahead of peers. Oh, and it was really funny. Like, I thought I was going to get ticket too.
Yeah.
Because he was asking about, where I work and blah, blah, blah. And so then he's like, oh, well, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's Warfighter Tobacco. We do, premium hand-rolled cigars. He's like, well, where's your shop? He gives your shirts, cop. And I was like, oh, it's off 15, 18 in shirts. And he's just like, oh. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you a cigar smoker? And he's like, well, sometimes. I was like, I guarantee you if I look around in here, I can find some cigars. And he's like, even if you wanted to give me, I can't take them right now. And that's in my brain. I was just like, oh, fuck, I'm getting a ticket. Because usually they're like, yeah, sure. And then I know I'm good, you know. But no, he gave me a written warning, and I want to know, and any of the listeners out there, if they want to tell me if they're law enforcement, can you see how many written warnings that you get prior?
I don't think so.
Like, do they drop off, or
they must? Because I think if you get a warning in a day, that's known.
Yeah,
but they must drop off. They must. I don't know.
I wonder if he can like look back and see over like the last couple of years, and he's just like, oh, okay. Like he just likes to go like 10, 12 miles an hour.
Or if there's is there like a block that's like asshole, not an asshole?
That is way more important.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Because if I was a cop, I would want to know like,
who am I walking up on? Is this guy like, put like officer notes, like this guy hates cops. Yeah. Be like, oh, this is going to be a fun traffic
just
stop.
asshole, not good citizen, bad citizen. One of those kind of blocks. He knows his rights.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, anybody's law enforcement. And if you don't want to put it out there, shoot us an email, info@Warfighter Tobacco. We won't say any names or say anything, but I'm just genuinely curious on how that works.
Yeah.
Because I know like clearly with actual tickets that hangs around for a while. They can see that.
I wonder if it's like a 30-day thing.
I don't know.
A written warning.
I know I've gotten 2 warnings in the same day before.
See, that's surprising.
Different counties. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah. How does that work?
I don't know.
How does that work?
Either that or both cops are just like, I don't know.
You have the good citizen block checked.
Yeah. But there's times where I got pulled over and I got tickets and I thought I was going to jail. And the cop was cool and I didn't.
Oh, I got told one time, he's like, if you would have been a dick at all, he said, you would have been going to jail tonight.
Yeah, that's.
But he's like, you were very respectful, and I appreciate that. So here's your ticket.
like, and it's, if I'm getting pulled over, I know it's because of something. That
Dude, let me tell you this story. I'll tell you the story about when the cop said I was going to go to jail. I had my Trans Am. I was in high school, and we have in the town I lived in. There's this bridge that went over the train track.
Now, explain this Trans Am so the listeners can get a full picture of how this was.
I had a '79 Trans Am with T-tops.
Yep.
Right.
What'd you have for an engine in it?
I at the time. Well, I had a 383 stroker. Yeah, and it was
quick,
torquey. It was torquey, right? But there was a newer Trans Am right next to me, and he was kind of like racing me over this bridge a little bit. Yeah. Like not racing, but like prepping it to race,
jockeying.
Yes, because at the bottom of this bridge, there's a stoplight, and we were both at the stoplight.
Okay,
so we're racing at this point, right?
Yeah, it's game on.
Yeah. So the light turns green, and I fucking smoky burnout take off, right?
Yeah.
I don't even make it through the intersection, and I see the cherries in my T-tops. He was literally in a Bronco
behind you,
right behind me. And so I didn't even get through the intersection, and I was able to turn and pull into a parking lot.
I guarantee you this cop's sitting in there and he's just like, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, you idiot.
The first thing he said to me when he walked up, he's like, either you are an ignorant son of a bitch or you're fucking stupid. And I said, sir, I'm fucking stupid, and I'm sorry. And so he writes me a ticket for exhibition of acceleration, racing on highway, no proof of insurance, and no license on person. And that's when he said, he's like, if you would have been at all an asshole to me, you would have gone to jail tonight. He said, but because you were completely respectful and you owned up to it, he's like, not that you could not have owned up to it. You did it right in front of me, but yeah. And then I got out of that because he wrote my wrong middle initial.
Oh, nice.
There was two Scott Jansons in the town I lived in. One was an asshole with a huge record. He put that guy's middle name on the ticket. So I went to court.
Yeah, I'm like, not me.
That's what I said. It's not me. And it all got dropped.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In Arizona, they used to give tickets for excessive use of finite resource.
What does that mean?
If you did a burnout, they gave you that ticket.
Oh.
Yep.
Exhibition of acceleration is what.
Yeah, it's the same, but they broadened it in Arizona because they would tack that on as a secondary if they pulled you over for like doing a wheelie.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like that. You're excessively using a finite resource, fuel. And it's just like, but what if my motorcycle is very efficient?
Well, I get on an electric bike, sir.
Where's that power come from? Coal plant. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got out of that one.
Yeah, shit. I was in high school. That one would have fucked me over bad.
I had a criminal ticket in Arizona that I got out of.
Yeah.
I got pulled over for doing 135 and a 55 in a construction zone.
Ooh.
But I was actually slowing down. I was going a lot faster than that before I came over the hill.
Yeah.
And then when I came over the hill, the cop was right there. And they were building a 202 in Arizona. And so in the evenings, you didn't know what exit was open and closed because they were doing all the construction. And typically, if you don't want to stop, then if you're on the highway, you get off. If you're off the highway, you get on.
Right.
And then you create distance and you go from there. Yeah. And, this is my younger, stupider days. And so when I saw the cop flip his lights on, I was just like, oh, I'm so screwed right now. And I might have been drinking a little bit. So I like that split second decision. It was just like, well, I'm just stuck on this highway and there's no way I'm getting away from this. So I was just like, well, so it's just kind of like today where like I pulled over and the cop literally went like, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred yards right behind me. And I made this elaborate story and he gave me that ticket. And then I went to court and my word was the same that his story was on the ticket. Yeah. And I didn't even get in front of a judge and whatever it was, the county guy or the clerk or whatever was just like, okay, well, we can plead this down to a civil and a $300 fine. And I was like, done.
Yeah.
Didn't even argue. I was like, done.
Thank you.
Because that was going to be like a couple grand. And yeah. And that was one of those ones where like I should have been arrested that night.
So one time I used to live in Nebraska growing up, but the road going from Lee to Columbus, it is nothing but hills.
Yep.
And every mile is a dirt road, right?
Right.
Well, I'm 15, borrowing my mom's car, and I'm doing 140. And I go over a hill and meet a cop head on. And this is like in a 55.
Yeah.
Right. But we crested at the same time.
You're like, shit.
So I'm like, fuck. I took the next dirt road, hauled ass, and stopped behind some trees. And I don't know if the cop ever even turned around.
You're just like,
yeah, I'm just,
whoa.
so yeah, that one I would have been in trouble.
Yeah, I don't do that stupid.
No, me either. I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up.
Thank God.
Yeah. But oh boy, was I young and dumb. Holy cow.
You know, that's how you learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're like,
as long as you live through it, that's how you learn.
I've always said this, and it was always a joke when I was growing up. And then now that I'm older, it actually makes sense. But in order to be old and wise, you must first be young and stupid.
Yeah.
Like you have to fuck up.
Yeah.
But you have to learn from it.
Yeah,
if you don't learn from it, then you're just a fuck up.
Yeah. Then you're just stupid. Yeah.
Well, you gotta push those limits. You gotta find out what, you know. But then you learn a lot about yourself too. You learn like, wow, I was really willing to do that. You know, you're like, oh.
I didn't understand consequences then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Risk versus reward.
Yeah. Oh, what else is going on in the world? You got any other?
We got a couple questions that came in.
All right.
Okay.
The first one is, any concerns about tariffs with Warfighter? Didn't hear if Nicaragua could be in the tariff crosshairs.
There was some talk about it at the show, but I think we have a way around it if there is.
We're not really worried about the tariffs. I mean, ultimately, that would suck.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do? Not really. We can hope that whatever the tariffs are being used to negotiate for is something that is.
Well, I think Trump's goal with the tariffs is to bring manufacturing to the United States. So if you really dug into like tariffing cigars, there's no chance that it's ever going to be done here.
No.
It can't be.
No, it's not cost effective.
Yeah. All the good tobacco is not in the United States.
Everything would have to be imported anyways.
Right. So I don't think that, I think because of what it is, that they would not tariff cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately,
adapt and overcome. Like if it happens, it happens. We'll figure it out then, but I'm not going to worry about it.
No, it's not something that's on our radar.
Yeah.
If it ever gets on our radar, then that will definitely be something that we talk about, because that will essentially change the entire industry.
Yeah, but it won't just be us. So
it'll be across the board.
Everybody figuring it out. So, what else?
We got another one. Do you guys ever send cigars to units?
So, not directly, because we work with Cigars for Warriors quite a bit, and
that's their whole mission.
That's their whole mission, right? And I like working with those guys, and they have all the pertinent addresses and
all the vetting.
Yeah, sometimes like if I know an address or like my boy's boat, for example, right?
Yeah,
I give them cigars, but it's my kid's boat,
Yeah.
Yeah. We sent some cigars to our buddy who's law enforcement.
Yeah.
They
were working, doing all the
law enforcement.
Yeah.
So, we do some stuff like that. But as far as overseas units, I have them reach out to Cigars for Warriors, and then that's what they do.
Yep.
So
that, and it's for a while the FDA wasn't allowing manufacturers to.
I think that went all the way now, like samples and all that shit's gone now.
Yeah, I think that all disappeared with all the most recent decisions that came down. But that was, I mean, for the large chunk of everything that we did from day one, that restricted us on what we were doing. And I remember our original business plan and business model was we had a percentage of what we made was just earmarked for guys overseas.
Yeah.
And then the FDA shit came down, and then we had to funnel everything through Cigars for Warriors.
And like if I sent cigars directly to a unit, I feel like I'm undercutting a charity I work with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they've sent 1.7 million cigars overseas.
That's a lot.
Right? So they know how to do it. They know how to work it.
They're a very well-oiled machine.
Yeah, they're good guys, and we support them.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and if you guys want to support them too, cigarsforwarriors.org. We're actually going to be out in DC with them in next month.
Yeah.
Doing some fancy stuff, rubbing shoulders with some politicians.
Yeah.
I don't know why they asked us.
I did tell Storm, he was talking to somebody else. And he's like, yeah, I invited these guys because they kind of fit both the veteran space and the cigar space. And I said, and I know the proper time to use the word cunt. I said, I know when not to use it. And I also know when to use it.
Right.
So, and on the podcast, maybe I shouldn't have used it. Maybe I don't know, but.
We're like 35 minutes into it at this point. We're good.
All right.
I feel like it's a very underused word.
I love it.
It needs to be brought back.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about Australian guys at the time. So, but any other questions?
We have one more, a couple of questions for the Warfighter crew. If you had to pick your last cigar ever, what would it be? And what is the most memorable cigar or memorable cigar smoking experience?
Ooh. So what was the first? So most memorable. What was the first part?
If you had to pick what your last cigar would be, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know what my last one would be.
I have a funny 22 joke right now. This one.
Don't forget the Windex.
So my brain goes to two different things. My brain goes to the Garrison Rosado because it's the one I smoke the most. I enjoy it the most. But it also goes to like, what's the biggest, fattest cigar?
Like that 10 by 100.
Yeah, because if I know that's my last one,
I'm dragging this out.
I'm dragging it out. Yeah.
It's like my last meal is going to be all you can eat. Right. Okay, so last cigar, if it was a Warfighter. Your Rosado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's just last cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of anybody, so I guess. But.
I think my last cigar would be a victory cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd have to sit there and try to think about all the little small victories I've had over the years.
That might be a first edition victory. Bust those guys out.
Yeah.
That's a good pull.
And what was the second half of it? My brain's not working there.
What was your most memorable cigar or memorable cigar smoking?
He couldn't even remember the question.
No, I couldn't remember that I had to remember.
There's a few TBIs in this room.
So the one that immediately comes to mind, just because of the location of it, is years ago I got to do a behind-the-scenes tour of the Pentagon, and I got to smoke a cigar in the center in the courtyard of the Pentagon.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
I mean, if you can get into the Pentagon, you can go do it. It's not like restricted, but it's just getting to be able to get in there. You know, like you can do a tour, but they're not going to let you just go hang out.
Yeah.
So that was why it was super cool for me. And I was all like trying to be secretive of it. And then like, because we were like the only ones out there at first. And then like 15 people walked out. I guess they just got done with a meeting or they're on break or whatever. And they all lit up cigarettes. And I was just like, okay, I don't feel as bad now. But that was probably one of my most memorable cigars. Yeah. What would yours be?
I think, one of the most memorable cigars for me, I don't even remember what it was, but it was probably like when I was I was in Nicaragua at the blending table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when the roller rolled me one, he's like, try this one,
Right.
And that first one, that was probably the most memorable because that was a cool time.
That's a very unique cigar.
Right.
Not many people get to have that experience.
Because when we first started, we were just some guy was getting us cigars and we were branding them and we didn't really have a lot of hands on, but it was like year 1.5, maybe year one.
Not even.
It was real soon.
It was like we were probably 4 to 6 months in when you went down to the factory.
And then I'm like, okay, we got to actually the business concept was working.
Yeah, proof of concept's there.
Yeah.
Cool. Now let's
go do it. You know. And so then we went down there and we're creating our own blends. You know, like that was probably the first, the most memorable for me was that one.
That's still, you know, like you think back of like most memorable cigar, and you have like all these moments that flash through your brain of different times that you remember smoking, right? Like a couple of these are like when you and I would sit on your front porch in Nebraska and just try cigars. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we did that a fucking lot.
And that was good. Those were good days.
Yeah,
because
we'd actually try to make notes, and then we'd lose the notebook. We forgot, and we'd have to go smoke and make.
You know, and my most memorable one at the factory there smoking was with two people I really don't like today.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. But just being in that environment and doing that thing, and I remember that. So yeah. On your front porch is one of my most memorable cigars is my least favorite cigar I've ever smoked in my entire life. That was on your front porch. Yeah. That one sucked. Yeah, that was that very peaty one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That peat moss infused.
Yeah.
That was bad.
If you like Scotch, you might love that cigar, but
they quit making it.
Well,
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
the owner of the company died, so that didn't help.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got one more question if you
Okay.
boys want that.
Yeah.
What are some of y'all's guilty pleasures that we can say on the podcast?
And so that's about it for Warfighter Tobacco Podcast this week. Boy.
Yeah.
No kidding.
God,
like
I don't
like things that aren't
that I feel bad about.
no. So what I'm assuming what they mean by that is something that we enjoy doing that isn't like stereotypical that we enjoy doing. Is
Oh,
kinda,
yeah.
like Mikey's pedicure shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just got one yesterday.
Not me.
You know, when I was like, we're going to go get pedicures, I'm not going to be like, no.
I tell Michelle no every time she brings it up.
You should go do it.
No.
Just get some little Asian lady to rub your feet. It's great.
I'll get a little Asian lady to rub something else, not my feet. Like if I'm seriously,
Will Michelle sit there next to you while this is going on?
I don't know, but if I'm going to pay an Asian lady to do something to me, it's not going to be my toenails. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think that falls under this category of questions.
I'm not saying I do that, but if I, I can justify it in my brain more, like to.
Scott's like, but I'm not guilty about it.
Guilty pleasures. I don't know. I mean, I get manicures or pedicures every once in a while, but it's never like I don't go by myself. I'll either go with Mal, or I'll go with one of my guy friends, which I don't know which is worse.
I would put that in that category.
But yeah. Lately, probably the past 6 months, I've thoroughly enjoyed nicotine pouches.
Yeah.
But it's not like I like the feeling that nicotine gives me.
Yeah.
It helps me focus. It helps my brain work faster. Like I feel like it's I don't know. Like I use it as an addition to my life. It's not like I need this. It's like, no, I want that.
Right.
But because there's times where it's just like it's not like I forget. It's just it'll be like 3, 4 in the afternoon. And I'm like, I didn't even put a pouch in. Like but yeah.
What else? I don't know.
I can give one for me personally.
Okay.
All right.
My wife gets me fucking hooked on these trash reality dating shows, and it always starts the same way. Like She starts watching it and she's like, do you want to watch this with me? I'm like,
No,
fuck
I
no,
don't
that
watch
thing's
that.
garbage. I'll watch something on my iPad or whatever. And then like
The iPad's on your lap.
the iPad's on my lap and fuck it. Like I'm just like chiming in with like, this bitch is dumb as fuck. And then like a couple episodes go by and I'm just like, he's a real dirtbag for doing that. And then the next thing I know, I'm fucking hooked on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn it. Every time. And she loves to bring it up because she'll do it. Like a new one comes out and she's like, you want to watch this with me? I'm like, fuck no. And she's like, you liked this one? I'm like, I'd make up some bullshit excuse. I watched it because you like watching it. In reality, I'm just like,
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
yeah, that's one that gets me hooked every time.
I got one like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The TV shows.
Sister Wives. I got hooked because now they're all getting divorces.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it's fucking great now. Yeah, I'm hooked on it. And yeah, I guess I'm not proud of it, but
Mal would watch Love Island.
Oh God, that
And,
one's
It is such a train wreck.
it is.
It was like because I don't give it, like whatever, put on whatever you want to watch. I don't care. I'm not even going to pay attention. And like, I wouldn't pay attention. And she's just like, she'd back something up. She's like, you have to see this. And then I get sucked in for like 15, 20 minutes,
Yep.
you know? And I'm like, this is such a train wreck.
Oh, it is whoever came up with that idea. And then it is the definition of a train wreck because you can't look away because it's
Yeah.
always something happening. And there's just
And it's-
horrible people on these
It's like
shows.
forced incidences. Like
Yes.
the production crew knows what's going down
Oh.
and they like make it happen.
Yep.
yeah.
But the one thing I got to appreciate about Mal showing me these shows because like the new episode or the new seasons of Love Island, it's just drama and trash. But if you go back to like seasons 1, 2, and 3, like there's titties everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like, you know, and I made like a comment one time we were watching. I'm like, oh, it'd be a lot cooler if they were topless. And she just like went back to the beginning of the early seasons. And I was like, see, this is cool. I'm like, this is all the drama that you like. And I get to look at boobs.
Yeah, it was fun. We were watching, I think it was Love Island, and it was when Abby was pregnant, and the whole time we watched it, I was like, all right, new mission in life. Don't let my daughter end up on one of these fucking shows. Because I was like the whole time you're just like, oh, that's someone's daughter. Like that's
Right.
fucking. And then what's crazy is at the end of the series, like the families show up and like they meet everyone and they like, and then they do a reunion. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't. Like as a dad, I'd be like, I hope you're ready to watch your boyfriend die. Like, I don't know what
every
to
other
tell
dude
you.
on this show.
Absolutely. I'm like, holy shit. Cause they're like the hideaway where they literally just, they put these two people alone in a room that has like sex toys and lube and all this shit. And they're just like, I wonder what's going to happen. Like,
They're just going to talk.
yeah. Like, and it's always like them having some deep conversation. And then it just cuts to them under the covers, just fucking, and you're like, okay, yeah, surprised this happened. Yeah, that show's fucking crazy.
Yeah. If you were going to bang in that room and you didn't want him to air anything, you just do it right in front of the camera.
That's
put this on air.
yeah.
Next thing you know, it's just blurred. You're like, oh, shit. They did it.
That's all the questions for this week, boys.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Like guilty pleasure. I don't know. Maybe I just think everything I do is normal.
Yeah.
You know, pedicures. Because that's, yeah.
In oddly enough, it is normal in our circles.
And that's why I'm just like,
All right. Let's throw it to the audience.
Oh, a poll?
A
All
poll.
right.
Is a pedicure for
Or pedicure's normal for dudes?
straight dudes?
yeah. I think they are.
I almost got my toenails painted though
Yeah.
over Christmas
Yeah.
from a granddaughter.
I was just going to ask.
That's different.
Yep.
Yeah. It
That
never
is- yeah.
didn't go down though.
There's going to be a day where I have to walk into the Warfighter office with like some scraped off nail polish and be like,
Yeah.
fucking the daughter just got to
You know,
paint nails.
none of us will judge you on it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We'll get it until she's like 12. Then it's like
Okay.
now you can tell her no.
This is getting weird, bud.
That's going to be your mom being like, you should go paint dad's nails before he goes into work. His bosses are going to give him a lot of shit for this.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got? Anything?
I mean, the world is very interesting right now. I don't know how in depth we want to get on anything that's going on.
Yeah.
John, did you want to talk about how you trolled all of your Instagram followers with a single Instagram story with the largest deer in Texas?
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. Oh my God. Some of the messages I got on that were great.
Let me see if I can find the picture while you're.
It was so last weekend, I was guiding a veteran hunt for a nonprofit called Intrepid Care. We were doing it down the Womack Ranch in South Texas, just outside McFadden, Texas. And it was an awesome hunt. The weather was weird, so we didn't actually get any whitetail. It was the last weekend for whitetail.
Right.
And so we were trying to get a couple of vets some meat. So the whitetail didn't want to play, so that didn't work out. And we got some pigs, and then we did some predator hunting at night with some thermals. And one of the guys got a beautiful bobcat, and then a coyote. I mean, most beautiful cat I've ever seen.
Awesome.
Even like I went to the taxidermist after the weekend, and I showed the taxidermist a picture, and he's like, I would love to do that mount. That is a gorgeous cat. Yeah,
wow.
That one. Just the spots and everything. I mean, it was big size as well, but like they don't usually have that kind of coloration.
Right.
But it was amazing. But I mean, you look at that compared to the grass next to it.
Yeah.
And that's why you can never see them. You know, they blend in with that grass so well. But we ended up.
Did you tree that one, or how'd you get that one?
No, so we put a call out and we had thermals.
Oh.
And so actually, it was climbing down a tree when they saw it, and I wasn't looking. And what it sounded like from the sound of the impact, because we were shooting suppressed.
Yeah.
And if you've never done that before, when you shoot suppressed, you can actually hear the impact of the bullet.
Yeah.
If or when it hits something. And there's a definitive sound when it hits flesh versus a solid object.
Right.
And so the sound I heard on this was it hit a tree. And so I'm assuming it just went, because it was one shot and that's all I needed. It went through and it buried into the tree because it was like whack. And I was like, whoa. And then I got him and I was like, sweet. But so the landowner had, they've had a buffalo on the property forever. And it was starting to get very aggressive. It put one of the ranch hands in a very precarious situation where it almost got physically injured.
Oh.
It was destroying fences and cattle pens. And I mean, it's a buffalo, you know
right.
what I mean? So after this last freeze that happened, it was guarding a water tank and not letting the cattle get water. And then when the ranch hand went in to help to, move the buffalo so the cattle can drink, it went after the ranch hand. And that's when they were like, okay, buffalo's going to go.
Yeah.
When you're jeopardizing our
right.
livelihood, our business, then, and they run a lot of cattle down there. And so then there was a talk of who's going to do it and whatever. And because it was literally like, it needs to go now. And so then the landowner was like, hey, I got a group of vets coming down this weekend. Let me do this. And then we can harvest the meat and everything like that. And they were like, okay, cool. And so we went down and I learned a lot. Like I learned that as much as this round gets talked bad on, a 6.5 Creedmoor will take down a buffalo in one shot. And very clean, ethical, quick, no issues whatsoever. It was awesome. But so then we had to process it.
Right.
And I've processed a lot of animals in my life. Just none that big. None that big. It was and that wasn't even a big buffalo. It was you see the ropes? Those are the stuff to get side by sides unstuck. That's all we had. That was,
oh shit, it looks like it works great.
It worked awesome. But yeah, so I mean, really, really nice, good size, for food, for meat.
Yeah.
Buffalo. But yeah, that was all just quartered meat, filled a Yeti 110 completely. And then we had the quarters and all that stuff. But processing that animal, start to finish from the shot, field dressing it, and then, quartering and processing the meat, skinning it, that whole nine, start to finish took us about 4 hours.
Wow.
Which I thought it was going to take longer. I think we did a great job on it. But we got the landowner got a bunch of meat. I took some, and then the veterans got a bunch of meat as well.
Right.
Actually, one of them is going to come down next weekend. He's from Midland, and he's been in San Antonio and wants to come by the shop and hang out. But yeah, so the landowner kept the head. It's going to do a mount with that. I kept the hide.
You have the picture he posted? Yeah, so that's what you got everybody with, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, man, these South Texas deer are huge. And so the dude that's standing there, I mean, he's got to be 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
You know, he's not a small person. That animal was just massive. And so, but I put that up on my story saying these South Texas deer are huge. And there's a bunch of people that were like, oh my God, like, what do they feed them down there? Blah, blah, blah. And then I had one dude that was like, you know, what ranch do you get that elk on? And I was like, okay, at least we're in the right ball game on size. And then somebody else asked if it was cattle. And so that, you know, then I chimed in and said buffalo. But yeah, it was I mean, if deer were that big, oh my God. Yep.
This picture I can't show
on
screen.
that was a very you know, I've done a lot of stuff in my life, and I've had very unique experiences. That was an experience that surprised and shocked me when we were processing the animal, and you know, we're trying to get all the internal stuff out of it. And the way that it was hanging and everything, it was very warm because it was, you know, right after, you know, we harvested the animal. And so I had my hand inside, and, you know, it was warm and it was chilly out. It was in like 40s when we were processing this. So, you know, when you're at animal live temperature, essentially is what my hand was in. And then it kind of broke through and I could feel the cold air on my hand. It was a very unique feeling. I've never had that feeling happen before processing and cleaning an animal, at least, you know, that size.
Right.
Like maybe a tip of a finger, but not like a hand. And so when it happened, I was talking to one of the other guys, and my hand slipped through and hit that cold air, and it went from like warm, you know, internal temperatures to like 40 degrees on the outside. And I was talking to this guy, and all of a sudden I was just like my whole face changed, and I was just like, what the hell was that? And Evo pissed himself laughing at me. He's like, man, I wish I would have got your face on picture or on camera. Well, no, that thing was fun. That was, it gives me a new perspective. Like I've gone elk hunting before, but I've never been successful. You know, I go on nature hikes. But I couldn't imagine being on the side of a mountain, essentially trying to do what I just did, you know, like, oh man. Because we had equipment and tools and machinery and things to make life easy, and it still took forever.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know how to do it at least.
Yeah.
But it changed like my mindset of, hey, if I harvest an elk, this is how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Now it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely don't shoot him in the bottom of a ditch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately I'm going to take what I can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just knowing that it's just going to be brutal.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool though. Like I learned a lot. One of the vets that we had down there, he's he does a lot of stuff with lungs in the medical industry.
Right.
I can't remember his actual like title. But he's like insanely knowledgeable, obviously, of like how all of that works and how your respiratory system and the ribs and everything that has to do with like a chest area.
Right.
Because that's what they specialize in. And so as we were processing this, and like we'd say something about whatever, and then he'd give like the explanation of in a human how and why. And if we do a procedure, this is blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Like we were talking about the ribs, and he was showing us where on each individual rib is where like nerves and stuff run.
Oh.
And there's like a little valley. And then he was saying that, you know, if you have to do like chest tubes and stuff, you have to count your ribs, and then you go on the other side of that so you don't worry about hitting it because you have the gap in between.
Right.
If you go on the top of the rib, you have a chance of clipping those nerves or, you know, whatever. If you're on the bottom of it, then there's nothing.
Oh, I got you.
And then you have that safety gap between the next rib. And it was just like things like this. Is like, I've cleaned animals a million times. And I was just like, I never knew,
Yeah.
you know, I've never felt that. on a rib. I'm like, this is, and then all kinds of other stuff. Like it was very, very cool to have somebody explain all that.
Yeah.
Because they use an animal to show like, hey, on your ribs, this is how it works. And
Right.
it's like, oh, that's weird. I mean, that's cool. It's close. That's a buffalo. I'm a human.
Yeah. Well, I guess we don't know a whole lot else, do we?
Keep talking so much. My cigar keeps going out.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a Nicaragua trip coming up in about 10 days. That's going to be really fun.
You guys going to do an episode down there?
I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have all the stuff down there to do it. I don't know if we'll be able to get it published while we're there, but we'll be able to record it.
Right.
Then we get to edit and do all that fun stuff. So, but yeah, we're going to try to get all kinds of content. We got, we've had video ideas since pretty much day one.
Yeah.
We've just never had anything better than a cell phone down there
Right.
to do it. And then at best case, there's two of us. So we'll actually be able to get a lot of content, a lot of kind of behind the scenes of how things work at the factory. Like I said, better than just a cell phone video.
So that's you, Justin, and Dave going down there for that one.
Yep.
I have to stay back and do the shipping and
Man the show.
Yeah, man the shop. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for all the stuff that we got in the works right now down there. Just finalize a bunch of stuff.
yeah. Yeah, we got a new cigar rolling out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be launched at NFG.
Yeah. Is it March?
At the Underground Cigar Shop in Fort Worth, Texas.
So we'll probably have them available, April is kind of our target.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
We're hoping. But yeah, once as that gets closer, we'll put all the information about that cigar. It's a very unique cigar. So we'll explain.
Or we won't.
Or well, we'll explain the the how.
Yeah.
How to get the cigar.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you just got back from TPE. We got Nicaragua coming up. What else do we got coming up?
We got that
We
thing
had trip in DC with Cigars for Warriors.
It's the end of February.
Yep. Justin, what do you got coming up? Anything?
No, my sights are just on Nicaragua, getting everything prepped for that. So, nothing really for me, fellas.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna go finish this cigar and then actually get back to work.
Yeah. So we'll talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Talk to you all next week.
Don't forget to head on over to warfightertobacco.com for all your smoky treat needs.
Oh, the dumpster fire, limited run. We need to talk about that
Oh yeah.
because this is going out today, so there
Cool.
might be some left.
So if you're still listening, you made it this far. We still have a handful, not many, of our dumpster fire bundles that come in a dumpster. We did a limited run on those. They're display boxes that we have in shops. And we had a couple extras show up on this trip.
Yeah, and a couple requests that we have been telling people no.
Yeah.
those are just for shops for their display, and we're not going to sell them. And
So the downfall is, the dumpster fire is a more economic cigar, and the fancier we make the packaging, the more expensive that cigar gets.
yeah.
So
Usually when a shop orders it, we give them a bundle of cigars and they reload the
dumpster.
dumpster.
Yep.
So
But that helps keep the cost down, so it's not a more expensive cigar. But that's also why this is a more expensive product than just a bundle of the dumpster fires.
right.
Yep. But yeah, we have a handful of those left. So if you want to get in on those, go get them now, because I don't know if we're ever going to release those again.
Yeah.
So we just did this small batch. So go to warfightertobacco.com. You'll see it's under the cigar tab. You can't miss it. But other than that, we will see you guys next week with some more fun stories and maybe some knowledge.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, cheers.
Yep. Later.
Bye, guys.